not enough, then try 2. If that's not enough, feel free to put 3 and even as many as 4 power plants on the front of your tractor. It's run what you brung and hope you brung enough. Next. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the America's Fair here at Hamburg, New York. Ken Stout with you to bring you all the action. Well, and that guy, too. Welcome to the General Tire Mid-Season Championship, driven by R&L Carriers here at the Erie County Fairgrounds in Hamburg, New York. It's the super mods that are coming out here today. We're going to feature them the entire show. The multi-engine tractors that the fans love so much. Right now, with more on today's poll, let's go to my colleague, Leslie Mears.
You're getting a view down the stack at what's going to push out 3,000 horsepower. Now, this machine here, the Indian Outlaw, driven by LD Nation, composed of 3 T64 turbines in this super modified tractor class. Now, the combinations that you can put together are endless. You can go with automotive reciprocating engines. You can go industrial, or you can even go aircraft like we see here. But as long as you keep it under the 7,700-pound weight limit, it doesn't matter. This violent machine going to try to hook up this power to the track, pushing out 9,000 horsepower altogether. It's going to be a wild ride. Tire speeds looking at 140 miles per hour. It's crazy awesome out here. I tell you what, you might want to strap in to get a load of this horsepower.
I think we need to get Leslie a helmet. She looks pretty good in there. Get a little dirt underneath those fingernails. Here's a look at the track facts. As you can see, this place has been around for a long, long time. It is huge, and the fans show up by the thousands to watch the best. Now let's go to the third member of our team, Ted Brunson.
Great to be here in Hamburg, New York. They packed this place to the gills, and why not? The best pulling action in the nation is going on right here. Now, with this class, you mentioned it, lots of power, tons of horsepower. But what exactly consists of a pull? Well, you have to hook up to a sled. Now, in this particular class, the sled starts at 60,000 pounds. Once you get to about the 200-foot mark, that skid plate hits that dirt, and it becomes 5 times the weight. So in essence, for the next 100 feet or so, they're trying to pull 300,000 pounds to that 300-foot mark. Now, the dirt, the guys like the dirt. You would think that a packed clay is what they want the most, but no. The dirt here in New York is clay mixed with sand. Gives you about a 3-inch gap that you can dig those tires into, really hook it up, and hopefully get to that full pull line. Now, if there is a full pull, which they set it after 5 pulls, then you have a pull-off, and that's the champion.
All right, let's get things started. We'll kick it off with the Indian Outlaw. Welcome Leslie Mears to the booth here with me. That's the tractor. You were sitting inside of it. It's running now.
The Indian Outlaw, driven by LD Nation, a former alcohol dragster competitor. And you can see that we've got 10 of the toughest competitors in the nation out there with some amazing vehicles.
The Indian Outlaw actually in the hunt for a championship here this year, battling with the Joker. LD Nation, when it comes to jokers, is one of the biggest jokers out here on the tour. He is something different. Left, right. He is all over the place. That is not what he was hoping for. 192.64 feet. Man, everything that could go wrong went wrong here.
Well, these guys have to unleash the beast, so to speak, coming off the line to pull that heavy sled. 60,000 pounds right off the get-go, gets it launched up in the air, and man, those tires back there, each one spinning independent of each other, grab and hold at different spots and just taking it for that wild ride all over the track.
All right, here are our rules of the pull.
All right, our full pull, as Ted said, will be determined after 5 competitors have gone down the track. Our sled going to start out at 58,000 pounds, going to end up closer to that 250 to 300,000 pound mark than 200,000 pounds. Turbines, you can run up to 3 turbines, max 8650 on the horsepower, 7,700 pound weight limit for those as well. With alcohol blown motors, 4 motors, 871 superchargers, unlimited horsepower, and again, that 7,700 pound limit.
Scott Tedder coming up with the Mr. Twister, and you see the automotive style power plants on the front of this tractor. If there's a downside to this, it's when they come back for a pull-off. The turbines they can run them pretty much all day long. But these engines, they need to change oil in them. They need to cool them down a little bit. Otherwise, they start losing horsepower. That's the bad part about trying to run the automotive reciprocating type of engines.
You see making final adjustments. The right hand there on that stick of the throttle, going to ease it out and then mash it forward all the way as he's coming off the line.
Oh, there goes the blower belt. Once one goes dead, obviously the other one tries to drive it. If it's hurt inside, it'll really cause a lot of damage.
He lets off the throttle really easily coming out of the hole and then mashes it right there. You can see getting some good frame flex. Got the front end up off the ground like he wants. Then right there, lets go of the blower belt on that front motor. Whenever that happens, they want to stop all of the action together because once one motor goes, it makes the others work harder and you can do a lot of damage to your other motors if you just let it run on 3.
Yeah, I'm not real sure that the left rear engine didn't go first, so some problems on that pull. Coming up next, we'll have more Supermod action. Stay with us. The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Made in America, sold to the world. R&L Carriers, one call, one carrier. And by General Tire. All the action courtesy of the Supermods here at the General Tire Mid-Season Championship, driven by R&L Carriers. And one of the best in the business hooking up to the sled right now, Bill Leishner in the Dirt Slinger. And I'm sure Ted's going to pick him for a dark horse.
All right, time for my Hamburg dark horse pick. Now, he's in 4th place this year, but he's the granddaddy, the king of the mods. I'm going to go with Bill Leishner in the Dirt Slinger. Why? Not just because he's a great guy, because this guy knows how to hook it up and at the right time. Former champion, last year's champion, as a matter of fact. It's tougher this year. The field is bigger. The bigger hitters are here. But I'm going for Bill Leishner to go well past 300 feet.
And he has a couple of super mods. He actually has one with the turbine engines, but going with this one here today.
Running a little bit different configuration than everyone else here. Bill Leishner likes to run the Aries automotive engines. Others running Hemis and Chevys.
317.03. He makes a great call and a great pull. Got it done here today.
And it looked like there was a little bit of pull on that right rear motor as he got towards the end of the track. Staying a little bit closer to the left sideline over there. Gets a little bit of hop, drives through it, does a great job of getting the front end up, transferring that weight down, and making a good-looking pull down the track. You can see the smoke coming from that right rear motor back there. Maybe could have pushed out a little more distance. We didn't have that.
All right, here we go. Another clean-looking tractor here, and as you can see, just one lone power plant out there in the front of this one. It is drastically different than anything we've seen out here before. Brian Bukima in the River Rat.
And this is a Rolls-Royce Griffin, and that's what makes this super modified tractor class so unique. As long as you can stay under the weight and the horsepower limitations, you can put any kind of configuration you want to out there with 30.5 tires and drive that sled on down the track.
Pretty cool looking ride, no doubt. He's not going to have enough to win here today at 277.65, but it is nice to see something new come out here into the class.
And it just seems like he didn't have the wheel speed that we've seen out of our other competitors right off the get-go. And when you're dragging that much weight behind you, you've got to get your wheel speed up before the E3 spark plugs box tops off and that pan drops and those browser bars dig in, because once those do, you're done for if you don't have your wheel speed up.
I guess that one's probably putting out somewhere in the 3,000 to 4,000 horsepower range. So definitely giving up some horsepower here to the big dogs that came out here to play hardball. They know what it's all about. They do it on a regular basis. Tom Durfee and the Thumper Two out here. And how about a pair of Allisons on this one? Talk about a cool looking ride.
He's got a lot of cubic inches out there, 1710 cubic inches on each one of those Allisons. A little bit of a horsepower disadvantage here for the Thumper Two, running about 3,000 horsepower each, so right around a total of 6,000 horsepower. And the Thumper Two at 290.70. He was sailing off the line, had the front end up good, but just got on the brakes as he went down the sideline, getting close to that dangerous white line over there. The two white lines represent the 35 feet that the competitors have to keep their vehicle in as they're going down the track. And you can see right there, the brake hurting him a bunch, bringing that front end down and shortening up his distance.
Pretty impressive what he did here. Of course, the V24s are always exciting, and it's so hard to get parts for them, but it's nice to see them stay alive. Season championship driven by R&L Carriers at the Erie County Fairgrounds in Hamburg, New York. The America's Fair. It's one of the largest in the country, and it's also a huge pull. Everybody wants to win this one at one point in time in their career. Ken Stout, Leslie Mears, and Ted Brunson bringing you all the action as we hook up our next Super Mod. These guys are always exciting, the fan favorite, and as you can see, the neck brace going on here, neck collar, I should say. Safety has become very critical in this sport. The man behind the wheel is Sean Swearingen. The tractor is called the Joker. He is who everybody is chasing this year for the points championship.
And he's really been extremely tough out here on the Champions Tour circuit with the Lucas Oil Propylene League since he decided to switch from 3 automotive engines to 4.
Oh, a nice pull at 306.59. It won't be enough for the lead, but he's going to hang right in there and do what he needs to do, earn those points.
Most of our competitors starting out on the left sideline because they've been seeing the competitor before them being drug over to the right sideline, and that's exactly what happens to the Joker here. Comes barreling out of the hole there, good frame flex, left front tire up in the air, giving him a little bit of shimmy shake coming up there once the sled tops off.
All right, Sean, 306.59, good pull, but man, I tell you what, catching him to Leishner is very difficult at 317 plus.
Yeah, if that's what he's got, that's going to be a tough one to catch. He had a good pass.
I'll tell you, with this track, a lot of guys, well, some guys like it, some guys don't. It's a mixture of that clay and sand, but you appeared to have no problem hooking up.
No, it left pretty good, and I think that's about all it was going to do.
All right, the ultimate toy, and behind the wheel today will be Tim Howe. Typically, Larry Roberts driving this tractor.
You can see waiting on the RPMs to come up on those turbines. Crew Chief Jim Aldering over there on the sideline making some final adjustments, making sure everything's getting hooked up properly. Giving him the big thumbs up out there. Going to give him a little bit of advice before he goes.
These things spool up, they get loud, and then they get really quiet, and you can actually hear the rear tires start to churn back there in the dirt. It's pretty sweet. The front end way up in the air. And Howe doing a good job at 300.86 feet. No doubt, he could have used a little more weight up there in the nose of that tractor.
Does a great job getting it up off the starting line. Almost textbook, except it's just a bit too high. And you can see those weights kind of rambling around on the front end. He's only got 4 out there, each one 100 pounds apiece. If you had a little bit more, you could bring that front end down, get a really good transfer on that 7,700 pounds to those rear tires, and pushed out a little bit more distance.
You can see those rear wheels on the sled completely off the ground as that pan digs into the dirt. Up next, John Evans with a double stuffed in. This is the industrial type of engine you were speaking of earlier at the top of the show. A pair of them here.
These are DT 466s, engines made by internationals, used in everything from road tractors, farm tractors, heavy equipment, and even school buses.
Man, talk about slinging some dirt. 296.86 feet. That is a really good run right there for a tractor that's probably making around 6,000 horsepower.
That's exactly right, 3,000 apiece. But it doesn't matter how much horsepower you have. It's how you hook it up to the track and how you weight up your vehicle. He's just really on top of that sand clay mixture, and the track might be getting a little bit dry. He's on the right side of the track. Everybody else been on the left side. Maybe those extra passes on the left side, bringing up more moisture over there, and that's what's hurting his run here.
What a ride, baby, what a ride.
All right, John, she was pulling way to the left, and, you know, secondly, Bill really set the bar maybe a little too high tonight.
Yeah, it pulled to the left really bad. I had to really ride a brake, so that probably took some, I know it took a lot of footage off of it, but it wasn't a bad run. I'm pretty happy with it.
Normally with this class, 296.86 is a real good run. You know, Leishner had that early run, 317 plus, then they set the full pull at 320. That's got to be a little deflating because you got to give it all and then just hope for a little more of a miracle as well, right?
Well, we tried a little different place there on the track, and maybe that might not have been the thing to do, but we gave it a shot, and that's what happened.
We're not finished. A lot more action courtesy of the Super Mods. They're coming up. Stay with us. The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Super Clean. Not just clean, super clean. Jim Beam, the official spirit of racing. E3 spark plugs with Diamond Fire technology. And by Team Lucas, taking your company's marketing to the finish line. Welcome back here to the conclusion of the General Tire Mid-Season Championship, driven by R&L Carriers for the Super Modified category. It has been a battle here today. The guy out front, though, is Bill Leishner in the Dirt Slinger. Take a look at that mark at 317. The full pull mark set at 320, but right now, nobody's had anything for Leishner at 317.
With only 2 competitors left, that extra 10.5 feet that he has on the guy in second place is looking awful good for Bill Leishner.
Robert Fintech in the North American actually runs in the Empire State Division up here, and that's all he's allowed right there in the division that he runs in. He's come out here to try and compete in this big pull. It's a national event, but he's only allowed 3 power plants. These are Chevys here. He's probably not going to have enough to take over the lead here today. A nice effort, though, at 289.75, a many-time champion in the Empire State Division, and he came out here and gave it a good run.
He's facing the same problems that all of the other pullers in this class are today, and that's drifting over to that right sideline. And you see he's got to get on the brakes, brings the front end down, and then he ends up hopping the front end up and down, affecting his distance. Anytime you get the sled sideways like that, you've still got to drag those Grouser bars down the track, and when they're sideways, it makes it even tougher on you.
And up next, Joe Ader in the Dirt Challenger, a former champion inside of this category. He's just a few miles away from home.
Built a lot of chassis for the vehicles in this division. And again, if you know what's going on under the hood, or say under the cover out there, it makes you a lot better in the driver's seat.
This tractor, by the way, owned by our current leader, Bill Leishner. I said he had 2 of them. He used the one with the automotive engines, and it looks like Joe Ader will use the turbine. And Joe on a wild ride right there. Man, oh man, something going way wrong in about the middle of that pull.
Well, it's good you see him give the thumbs up to the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League official. And you can see he's got a lot of horsepower, launches, and gets that hop that we've been talking about. Drives through it, but then just too much. And those rear tires, those 30.5-inch tires, actually off the ground back there.
Boy, just a violent ride there. The sled coming up and smack in the back of the tractor as well. That's why they have the roll cages on them. That's why they're wearing the helmets. Everything that goes on pertaining to safety. All right, we saw LD Nation a little bit earlier. He was able to come back and make another pull here because he was the first puller out, and it was a test pull, so he had an option to come back.
When that test puller also gives our Pro Pulling League officials a chance to kind of read the track, because each track in each part of the country is just a little bit different, and you're going to have to weight the sled differently for those conditions on the track, including weather as well. So that's the advantage that our test puller has here.
He's going to try to outpull Sean Swearingen, who went 306.59, to see if he can close that points gap. Not going to happen. He had a wild ride earlier today, and this one is even worse.
It just shows you all that 9,000 horsepower can do once you hook it up to the rear tires, and he just got a wicked jump off that starting line.
Yeah, I mean, these guys react very quickly. They do this all the time. So for this tractor to take him this far out of bounds that quickly, it just goes to show you how tough it is to drive these things. Look at the sled back there, man. He's slinging that thing around like a rag doll.
And he was on the steering wheel and on the brakes early enough, and we'll get a good shot here of what the front end's doing. You can see the right hand on the throttle there, gets out of it immediately as soon as he starts to see that he's going to the white line.
What a ride. Let's send Ted down to talk to him.
Well, LD, you've been solid all year in the point standings. Just wasn't hooking up for you tonight.
Oh, I tell you what, nothing was working for me tonight. We turned around, we come back last that time, thought the track get a little bit better, and everybody was going to the left really bad, and they couldn't control it. So I put it over to the right-hand side because I knew it was going to go left. It went to the right, to the left, so it wasn't my night at the racetrack.
Put it on a good show for the crowd, at least.
Yeah, the crowd likes a good show, but the driver don't like them kind of shows.
He is something. All right. Well, we told you that LD Nation was a test puller at the beginning of the show. After he pulled, they actually changed the sled. When they change the sled, the first guy out again becomes a test puller. That was Scott Tedder. And as you recall, with the Mr. Twister, he actually broke a blower belt. Matter of fact, I think he had problems with both left side engines. But because he was a test puller, had visual breakage, he was allowed to make those repairs and come back.
And boy, Ken, he's really dogging it going down the track. The front end not even lifting. We're not seeing any torque or frame flex from it at all out here. So I'd say there's more wrong than just that blower belt that they fixed.
265 feet, and that's not going to help his cause too much here today.
You can see some missing out of the back two engines off the starting line, which doesn't help. And if he had some damage to that left side, other than the blower belt, this is where it's going to show up. And that's where these guys, after you have a problem with the blower belt like that, they go home, they take the whole engine apart, they check the rods, they check everything inside to make sure that there's not further internal damage. Because once that blower belt breaks, everything just lets loose, and it's like going haywire in there, just stretching everything out.
And here's a look at the final results. It will be Bill Leishner, followed by Sean Swearingen, and the Joker trying to hang on to that points lead.
All right, Billy, it's good to be back in the winner's circle, isn't it? First victory of the year. It took a while, but you're back.
It's taken a long time, Ted. It's taken all year to get here. We've been struggling, got a new fuel system, finally getting things figured out. But the competition's pretty tough on this Lucas Oil circuit, if you noticed. They had some good runners out here.
I got to tell you something, man. You pretty much blew the field away. I mean, 317 and change. Nobody came close to that. What was it about the hookup? Do you like this dirt more than other tracks, or what was it with you?
I think we had an early hook, and I waited a little bit and felt it hook a little bit, come with the throttle, and it just picked the front end up about right and made a picture-perfect pull. It just got lucky, I think, with an early hook.
It's all about timing, and our General Tire hook of the day will go to the Joker.
Those big Hemis out there with those 871 superchargers making a sweet run down the track.
A lot of fun watching the Unlimited Mods here today. This show has been produced by Lucas Oil Studios in association with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Ted Brunson and Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. We'll see you next time.